Okay, great. So again, I'm just going to introduce myself again. My name is Amy Delpo, and I am the administrator of older adult services at the Denver Public Library. I'm also a librarian. At DPL, we define older adult as anyone 50 plus. So I always say there are people who are older and don't know it. It's a vast, wonderful, fantastic demographic that I love working with. And we have a lot of programs specifically for older adults. And I think DPL is one of the resources that I'd love for you to know about today. And I'll put in the chat the DPL link for our older adult services. We are thrilled to be partnering with AARP to be this program, to bring this program to you. Jeremiah Mora is here from AARP. And you can discover the many caregiving resources AARP has to offer at aarp.org/caregiving. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about those in a minute. And let's just go ahead and get started. We already kind of went over the chat and muting and unmuting. For the fourth time on our Resilient Caregiving series, we have Nadine Cornish, who is a friend and colleague. Nadine, I always say, is just a compassionate and wise person who has found her calling in helping caregivers. She is a caregiver herself. She's the author of many books about caregiving. She's a motivational speaker. And she is also a certified senior advisor. So Nadine has so many, she's got both personal and professional experience and knowledge to share with you today. So Nadine, take it away.
Thank you so much, Amy. Hello, everyone. It's great to see everybody once again. Very excited. This is the last of our series, and we couldn't be happier to actually provide resources as our wrap up to this Lunch and Learn series. So again, thanks to AARP for co-sponsoring this event along with the Denver Public Library. So guys, we are not going to waste much time because we really want to make sure that we cover the resources that you're interested in. We want to talk about the resources that you may never have heard of, resources that you will likely need down the road, and most importantly, the resources that are essential for every caregiver to know and have access to. So if I can have screen sharing privileges. Thank you. And share a sound. Okay, it just showed something that I really don't want to share. So let's try this one again. Okay, can you guys see that?
We're still on your last one, Nadine.
Okay, we're gonna stop
unshare and try again. And while you're kind of working on that, I am putting in the chat the website for the Denver Public Library resources. And it's important to know that you do not have to be in Denver to take advantage of these resources. We serve everyone everywhere.
Yes, including our friend in Italy who's been on the last couple of calls with us.
Exactly. We've had people from Mexico. That's the magic of Zoom, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm where I'm supposed to be at this point. All righty.
Looks good, Nadine.
Okay. I think if we'll move into slideshow mode. There we go. Okay, so welcome to Resilience Manifested, tapping into your resources. And we're going to do a fast recap. Those, some of you participated in both of the Lunch and Learn series, but if this is your first time on, we want to make sure that you're up to speed with the gist of what we covered these last few weeks. And the question is, what is resilience? We've been talking about it for the last few weeks, all month long now. And so what we found out was that resilience is strength. And I'm not sure, you guys able to see this visual? Awesome sauce. Okay, strength. And one of the interesting things about this particular visual is that the top stone, the middle stone, they're all reliant upon all of the other stones in order to stand, in order to make this symbolism of strength. And so we want to remind caregivers that resilience means strength, but it means being strong with others. It is not a solo proposition. And then there's flexibility. And with flexibility, wow, boy, she's doing things that, wow, it probably takes years to train to be able to move in that manner. And one thing about the caregiving journey is that it will create opportunities for you to be flexible like you never ever thought you would or could be. And then there's toughness. Resilience is being tough. Being tough when it's tough to be tough, but being tough when it's absolutely necessary. And this particular symbolism, you know, this rope and this knot is made possible by the support of each rope. Each rope requires the other in order to fulfill its mission of creating this knot and being able to actually do maybe tug of war, as we sometimes feel like we're experiencing on the caregiving journey. And then there's buoyancy. Man, the ability to bounce back. There are some days that we go through stuff and we don't quite know ourselves how we're gonna get through the day. Has anybody ever had someone say to them, wow, man, what you're doing is amazing. I could never do that, right? We hear that as caregivers all the time. And we hear that because people can't imagine it, right? They absolutely can't imagine it. And the truth is that you can't imagine it. You just have to go through it. And as you go through it, you build whatever muscles you need to build in order to do what must be done. We don't necessarily have preconceived ideas about what our capacity is, but what we come to understand is that whatever it is that we need, somehow through grace, wow, let me see, what else? I can't think of what else after grace. Through perseverance, tenacity, and determination, we develop the resilience necessary to move to the next day, to move through the day and move on to the next day, to live again and to do whatever else is required of us. And it's just I think it's one of the gifts of caregiving. It's the transformation that tends to happen. And it's the introduction of ourselves to a side of ourselves that we never knew existed, that we may have kept in hiding. We may have known that side existed, but that was a side of ourselves that we sort of kept in hiding. And so the caregiving journey just affords us all of these opportunities to transform and to grow into what I often refer to as our higher self. And then there are resources, okay? And that's why most of you are on today, is so that you can hear about all of the amazing resources that are available to us as caregivers. And I'm starting with this picture because I want to start with the very, very basics. Most, if not everyone, has this particular tool, which is a smartphone. And I'll admit that I did not have the access of to a smartphone during my caregiving journey of almost 15 years with my mom, because gosh, that was my mom's been gone 13 years now. And so the phone it really was just taking off. And so we didn't quite have a smartphone And so what I had to do was pick up the dumb phone, right? The phone that we knew, punch those numbers in. I used the yellow pages, and I did have computer access. And so that was definitely helpful as well. But most times it was just more expeditious to check the yellow pages for the resources that I needed. And so I just want to remind you that at your fingertips, you have your smartphone, and you can Google almost anything that you might possibly need. And there are a gazillion responses that you're going to get. And so that makes our journey just a little easier now and a little more comfortable. And then, of course, the computer. You all are accessing the computer. Most of you are. You're either using your computer or your phone to access the information that you're getting today. And so don't take for granted the resources that have been made available to us. And of course, as a result of the pandemic, the computer and the Zoom platform has allowed us to connect with caregivers like we never were able to connect before. And I think especially for the caregiving community, Zoom has become a wonderful, essential tool for us to connect. And it allows those caregivers who did not have the flexibility of being able to leave home to attend meetings and seminars and that kind of thing. It allows us easy access now to information, symposiums, etc. Okay. And then the most important resource is people. People, whether they're relatives, blood relatives, whether they are friends, whether they are neighbors, church members, part of any social or civic organization that you may be a part of, the people in your world are tremendous resources. Just to share a fast story. One of the biggest challenges that I had in my caregiving journey early on was that I expected certain people to show up to support me in my caregiving journey, to support my mom especially. And what I came to understand was that the people who I thought most should be at the table participating in the process were not necessarily the people that showed up. But there were many people who showed up. And so when I released my expectation of who the people were supposed to be, I got the support that I absolutely needed for every facet of the journey. And so I invite you to consider, are you holding to task those individuals that you believe should be there to support, while you ignore the people who absolutely are there and willing to support and help you through the journey? Food for thought. So right now I'm going to stop the share, and I want to share one of my resources with you. One of my people resources. And we're going to start with actually Amy, our liaison at the Denver Public Library. And we're going to talk about the resources that are available at the Denver Public Library, specifically for the older adults as well as caregivers.
Want me to talk now, Nadine?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have a lot of resources. First of all, I am always a resource to anyone in the community, and I can help you find information and find services and things. I have what I call an open email policy, so you're welcome to email me. We have actually coming up in November, which is National Family Caregivers Month. We are doing a series on kind of caregiving basics that we're going to do. We do, as I think I've said before in this, we do meditation classes, which I think are very helpful for folks. Those are both in person and online. We just do a variety of things. And I think one of the most difficult things about being a caregiver and also someone being cared for is the isolation. And what I really try to do is provide spaces for people to connect and be part of their community and to feel, to make new friends, to connect with old friends. And so I just really encourage you to reach out to me, to go to our website. And if you're not in Denver, I am sure your public library probably has very similar resources. If it doesn't, as I said, you don't have to live in Denver to use our resources. You're more than welcome to attend programs and use our resources no matter where you live. But I just do a variety of things and I just try to come up with whatever I have. The Memory Cafe is a really wonderful program that we have that meets 3 times a month. And that I think is really valuable for caregivers and for the loved ones. And just a lot of other things. Was that what you wanted me to cover, Nadine?
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. Okay. All righty. So now I want to introduce you to another one of my people. And that is, that would be Michelle Adams. Michelle Adams, attorney at law, is a solo practitioner practicing in the areas of estate planning, estate administration, elder law, and special needs planning. Her practice is founded on the belief that every family deserves a plan that will protect and provide for loved ones in the event of death or disability. Furthermore, a person's estate not only consists of their material assets, but also takes into account the spiritual values, hopes, and ideas one wishes to pass on to future generations. She is convinced that one of the best gifts any of us can leave is the gift of peace of mind. Michelle is also author of the book, Family Strong, 7 Gifts for a Lasting Legacy. I am so glad to welcome my colleague and friend, Michelle Adams.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you, Nadine. Thank you, Amy, for hosting this, along with Jeremiah and all of you wonderful caregivers, because I know from experience and the experience of friends and loved ones, this is not an easy road, but the good news is that you have so many tremendous resources literally at your fingertips. And where before distance created the inability perhaps to connect, now we have the ability, whether through computers, as Nadine mentioned, whether they're smart or dumb phones, we have the ability now to connect with one another. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Michelle. So last week we did, our focus was on self-care. And one of our fabulous caregivers indicated that getting your affairs in order is in fact self-care. And I shared then that we would have someone to talk specifically about getting those affairs in order, because it is in fact an essential part of self-care, and it is an important, the legal aspect of caregiving is an essential and important facet of ensuring that we are ready to do the job that needs to be done, and also ready for some of the unpredictable things that we can't even imagine during the caregiving journey. And so, Michelle, tell us what would you say are the 3 most important things in terms of being prepared as a caregiver that you recommend our caregivers have in place?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, life is so unpredictable. I view it as the analogy of a roller coaster. I used to love roller coasters when I was young. Now that I'm one of those older persons, I realized that my body no longer reacts the same way that it used to. But so it is what it is. But the first thing I would say is to take inventory, take stock. And this is both for yourself personally, as well as for the person that you are providing care for. So often we don't have a sense of what the full scope of a person's assets are. And it's just a really good opportunity to take a moment and to pause. I remember this was pre-pandemic. Actually, it was everything in my life now is pre and post. So this was actually February of 2020. And I was in Florida actually on a book launch. My parents live in Florida now. And my mom took that opportunity to say, you know what, Michelle, I know you keep pestering us about getting our affairs in order. Let's just kind of go through my filing system. And it was incredible. Now, first, my mom is, well, let me say this. Hopefully they're not going to listen to this. My dad is actually very organized. My mom also has a good sense of what's going on and the right folders. It's just so many folders. So we took that opportunity to kind of drill things down and to see, is this even necessary anymore? Tell me more about this. And one of the things that we discovered was that she still had her mother, who had passed away in 1996, listed as a beneficiary of one of her accounts. That was, now we're in 2020, and she's been married to my dad for 50 plus years, and she still had her mom listed as a beneficiary. So those are one of those things where you might say, that's impossible. I check things. Trust me, I've seen it more often than not where people have former spouses or just people that that's no longer in their life listed as beneficiaries of their assets. So take stock, create an inventory of what those assets are, this may be a 1A, how they're titled, because there's also a common thought that if a person is married, that the asset is titled in both of their names. And sometimes I have found that that is not necessarily the case. It could be in one spouse, maybe that spouse had better credit or there were debt issues or things along those lines. So it's always good to check that out. And for my caregivers, what I have found is that sometimes a loved one may put property in the name of themselves and another loved one. And this could be a sibling, this could be, another child, and that can create its own host of problems because I think what happens is that the individual thinks that this is the best way to do it. I'll avoid probate, the property will just go to the person named, and then they'll share it, with the people that I would want them to share it with. The problem with that is that legally, whoever is listed as title on that property, they are the ones who they're going to receive it. And, as much as you think they're going to do the right thing, most likely there's a very real possibility that they're not. So when you're taking inventory, also make sure to see how those assets are currently titled. So take inventory. The second thing I would say is to make sure that now that you know what assets are out there, that you have a plan. In particular, as it relates to who has been authorized to make these decisions. Once again, it could be you as the caregiver. Perhaps you've been the one taking that loved one to the doctor's appointments, to various visits, et cetera, picking up prescriptions. But do you necessarily have, or do you know for a fact that you have legal authority to serve in that capacity? So that relates both to medical decisions as well as financial decisions. And again, as you can only imagine, this is just one of those areas where it's ripe for arguments and drama to occur because one person may feel one way, another person may feel the other. One person may accuse the caregiver of stealing, the caregiver is like, are you kidding me? I've been doing this for how long? And it just goes on and on. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you have legal authority to act. Nadine, in your book, Tears in My Gumbo, you talk about the twins, right? And I've always loved that story because here you have two twins who are older adults, and the one sister knows exactly what her sister would want. And here comes swoop, here comes a child coming into the picture who now wants to take over. And it's creating so much disruption. But because the documents were not in place, now it went to court. But thankfully in that situation, the court ruled in favor of the person who had been the long-term caregiver, the sibling who knew exactly what her sister wanted her to do. So again, this is just a really good opportunity to review the documents and make sure that you have legal authority to do that. And then I'm also going to do another A underneath that. I just did a
Can I
video.
just interrupt you just a moment, just to clarify that story, because
Yes.
they did in fact have their affairs in order. And even though the twin sister was 80 years old and a daughter, her niece, was also petitioning for guardianship of her mom because the affairs were in order, she did in fact, both of the sisters took care of business long before the need arose, because they anticipated that there might be some challenges down the road. And when they went to court, the judge had no course other than to follow the wishes, because one, the 80-year-old was competent and capable, and two, the documents were in order, and it clearly stated that the sister would be the caregiver for the other sister in the event of her incapacitation. So
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
I love it, because again, that person knew what their wishes were, and it happened at a point where they still had the mental capacity to do it, because that's where the issues come up. I'm working with someone now, and the parent is living with them, and they want to make decisions for that parent. And I said, well, do you have the legal authority to do so? And they said, no. And I said, well, does the parent have capacity to be able to do so? And they said, no. So now we're going to have a hard conversation about what the next steps are as it relates to getting them that legal authority. So thankfully the twins, thank you, Nadine, in that situation, they did have the proper documents in place. It went to court, and yet, like you mentioned, the judge had no recourse but to say, hey, listen, this is what this individual wanted. So good on them. There was another part, I was gonna say, just as it relates to those decision-making documents, make sure it's someone that you trust. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but there was an example of, and it's TV, so take it for what it is, but it happens in real life too, where there was a gentleman who was admitted to the hospital. He had been he had long-term friends in his community. His daughter lived in another state altogether, and the daughter had medical power of attorney, but she was mad at this other family because of various issues that happened in the past. So essentially what she told the medical staff was, I bar this family from being able to hear anything about what's going on with my father. And the father, if he had known that, would have been livid, because this is a family that had literally been taking care of him while his daughter was in another state. And so I say to trust the person, because sometimes different issues come up, and because there's some whatever conflict that a person may have, they may not follow through on your wishes, not necessarily about your medical care, but about who could come into that hospital room, who could visit with you while you are in need. So I would say that's the second thing. And then just to wrap up with the third thing, and it's something that someone put into the chat, it's having the conversation. And yes, you're correct, Amy, that these conversations are not always easy to have, but they are so critical. I think about one of my very best friends. She and her father are also attorneys, and the dad fell into a medical situation, and she's an only child, and she had to make some really hard choices about what his care should look like. And I mentioned that they were attorneys because sometimes attorneys are notorious, as are some of our past presidents, of not having an estate plan. And it's just really important that not only is there a plan in place, but that also you're having the conversation with your loved one so that everyone's on board and there's no guilty feelings at the end of the day about whether the person would have wanted this or whether they would have wanted that. And so baby step through that conversation. And usually what I tell clients, most of my clients are older adults who are probably like right around that 50-ish age, and they have older parents or people that they're caring for. And I say, let them know that you're doing the planning. And then that might encourage them to really think about doing the planning for themselves, again, if they still have capacity. So you know, I can go on forever about this.
Hey, all right, Michelle, I can't thank you enough. I so appreciate your time and your sharing this basic information that caregivers must know. And many of us, even though we've heard it, to be constantly reminded is absolutely essential. And I definitely want to remind all of our caregivers, you want to make sure that those affairs are in order for your loved one, but that they're also in order for yourself. And I love the suggestion that you made, Michelle, that, you know, people just, hey, just share, hey, I'm getting this done. I'm taking care of this right now. Let's look at yours, or let's talk about that. We know that with older parents of a certain generation, and particularly, that can be a very difficult conversation to have, but it's absolutely necessary, and it saves a lot of headaches in the long run, for sure. Amy?
I was just going to say thank you, Michelle and Nadine. I dropped into the chat just some background information on what these documents are that we're talking about. It can be super confusing. And I also just wanted to let folks know, really, thanks to Paula's idea from last week, I think that in November, we're going to try and present just a much more comprehensive program about the legal and financial issues that come up when you're caregiving. So look out for that from us. But there is that link in the chat that might be useful to people who are feeling a little confused about what all these documents are.
Fantastic. Thanks, Amy. There's also a note from Debbie. She said that they have a final wishes notebook that has all the legal documents, list of assets, beneficiaries, burial plans, etc., all in place that they review yearly. And that's excellent. And we just can't encourage everyone enough to check and make sure that that paperwork is in fact in order. So Michelle, will put your information, contact information in the chat so that if anyone wants to reach out to you, they're welcome to do so. But we are gonna move on and move on to our next guest. I know she's on the call, so I'm hoping she can hear me. So Michelle, thank you so much. I hope you can hang around, but we appreciate having you, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so here's another one of my people that I have invited, one of my most important resources throughout not just my caregiving journey, but my journey supporting family caregivers. I want to introduce my very good friend and colleague, Rosalind Reitz. Rosalind serves as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Alzheimer's Association. Rosalind supports five regional chapters while engaging community-based organizations that advocate on behalf of serving diverse communities. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. Technology was trying to keep her away from us today, but she is on. We won. Thank you and welcome, Rosalind.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadine and Amy. And so good to see my friends, Michelle and Jeremiah on the call too. So I appreciate you having me today. I just merely stopped by to share some resources. The Alzheimer's Association is committed to serving caregivers, family caregivers, as well as professional caregivers. And we've provided service to caregivers across the nation since 1980. And with that, we have over 70 chapters in the United States, and here in Colorado, in particular, we have 5 offices. So, you know, we're just happy to be able to be that go-to resource for community partners and caregivers and families. I already know that I'm preaching to the choir, and Alzheimer's disease, you all know, is a public health crisis. So with that being the case, dementia, the umbrella term, is a decline in memory, thinking, and reasoning. So knowing that all of you are aware of this and you're in the journey, you're on the journey, I should say, of caregiving, and you provide such excellent support to those you love, is so important that you're also caring for yourself. So with that said, I just merely wanted to show you our resources online and how they are accessible to you online in this time of the last 18 months. Like so many, we were able to pivot successfully and convert all of our programs and resources, to a virtual platform. However, we've always had our website, and it's totally abundant with resources. And I've been around now since 2010. I was a caregiver for my mother, who's since passed on, and my mother-in-law passed on some years ago as well. And so these were resources, or we, during the time, the early years of caregiving, did not know about the Alzheimer's Association. So I'm totally committed to share those resources. So if Nadine, if I may, I'll just share my screen to show everyone our website and just a couple of links to be able to access resources, if that's okay.
Amy, can you provide sharing access? Thank you.
I think I can. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. Can everyone see that? This screen? All's connected. Well, first and foremost, we're really grateful for the national partnership that we've had with AARP since 2018. And in this partnership, it combined efforts to be able to provide even more resources to caregivers, recognizing the needs in the area of age-related concerns or care. We know that there's just an abundant opportunity to, come together as community partners and provide those resources. So with that said, first and foremost, our website address is alz.org, alz.org. If I get an opportunity, I'll throw that in the chat for you. If you're in Colorado, it would be alz.org/CO, or whatever state you're in, you just put or indicate an abbreviation of that state, and resources will come up within the state. What I've done here today is I just shortcut to alzconnected.org, which in fact is a caregiver resource where caregivers, and forgive me, I'm going to try to navigate as I go through, scroll down, but caregivers can either chat with other caregivers. It's a community forum, if you will, for caregivers to really share information and see how you can help one another. You can see here on the right, it's All's Connected for people with the disease, caregivers, family members, friends, and individuals who have someone with some form of dementia. So you can either click on Caregivers Forum. There is a sign-in process, but you can see here, for example, the topics that come up. They range from needing information around, caring for someone regarding COVID. As you can see, join a fitness research study. I'm not doing so well, introduction. So chatting with this caregiver. So you have access to just a vast resource, if you will. Bathroom issues, questions that you can ask, going to court, So how many folks knew about this? If you can just use your raise the hand in the virtual space we're in. Oh, Amy, you know about everything.
Hey, Rosalind, I just wanted to say, first of all, I've been dropping the links in the chat, so you don't need to do that. When you say
Oh,
something, I
thank
just
you.
drop it in there for you. But
Thank
I
you.
did want to share really quick, when my mother had Alzheimer's several years ago and I was her caregiver, I did not use the Alzheimer's Association, and I don't know why. And I really wish I had. Now that I'm caring for my father, I use your resources all the time and I find them invaluable. And I just want to thank you. And I just really want to encourage people if to reach out to the Alzheimer's Association. It's been a game changer for me, having done it without you and then doing it with you. And also really stress, it's not just for people caring for someone with Alzheimer's. I find the resources useful. My father has Parkinson's and dementia. I know people who use your resources who are struggling with all kinds of issues. So just a real shout out for your organization, Rosalind.
Thank you, Amy. You're awesome. Thank you.
And I would like to add to that, I didn't use the Alzheimer's resources as well because my mother was diagnosed with vascular dementia. And so I didn't associate vascular dementia with the Alzheimer's Association. She didn't have an Alzheimer's diagnosis. And so I unfortunately did not access any of those resources. But very shortly after she passed away, I had a little bit of time on my hand. And that is when I got involved with the Alzheimer's Association. And I vowed that I would make sure that all of the caregivers that I encountered would be very clear that if they are dealing with any form of dementia at all, Alzheimer's Association is a very valuable and viable resource.
That's outstanding. Thank you, Nadine. And as mentioned, I share the same as far as not having known. So with that said, we did expand our mission to include all other dementias because of the points that both of you raised, and really wanting to be, the connection to caregivers to be able to have education, care, and support. So we're a leader in research, and we do a number of things around research. And what I would like to do is show you all real quickly, and again, me trying to navigate all of these things I have up on my screen and see, but there is also a Science Hub. We have a new app where I'm not sure that folks know about that. Let me stop sharing so I could see here. Okay, but we have a new app. If you were to go to the App Store and just type in Science Hub or Alzheimer's Association Science and then Science, the app will come up. And it's an excellent resource to give you the latest in research and tell you about any news or any viewpoints that may arise regarding questions around research, I should say. So has anybody been able to successfully before today, because I know it takes time, is anyone familiar with the Science Hub?
Heard about it.
Oh, of course you are, Nadine. Excellent. Well, I know I just love it. And I want to just quickly, I want to be mindful of my time. So just a couple more minutes.
You're good.
Okay, thank you. I want to bring it up because I actually had the Science Hub in the background, but you would think 18 months of navigating this technology, I could get, there we go. All right, here we are. So the Science Hub, you can get to it by typing in alz.org /help-support is a way, or just merely type in Science Hub. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. And you can see here you can access the latest, or you can just go on the website and see what the latest is. But we have a number of ways to get to the latest research. And, you know, I could spend all day kind of showing you stuff on the website, but I know we don't have that. These were two points that I really wanted to leave with all of you: the research and the all's connected, so you can be able to communicate with other caregivers going through this. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is in reference to what appears to be a lot of disinformation around cures for Alzheimer's, medications that, you know, are miracle medications, and there just seems to be a lot more of that popping up at this point in time. What can you share with our participants today around being mindful and making sure that the information that they're accessing is credible information?
Oh, so important. Yes, because you're right. We are just bombarded with a lot of that overall. And even in this space, I would say, please come to the Alzheimer's Association, either by calling our 24/7 helpline, which is 800-272-3900. You can talk to a master level counselor 24/7. You can ask any question your heart desires. So be it around medication or something someone heard or saw on the internet, and they're going to give you the most up-to-date, the factual information that's going to, you know, be appropriate. If they don't know, they'll let you know they don't know. But we have to be so careful with these type things. But we do know that Alzheimer's disease cannot be cured, prevented, or even slowed down. In our education classes, we have a number of different topics that we have. One, we talk about healthy living for your brain and body, and talk about lifestyle choices. We have Alzheimer's and understanding Alzheimer's and dementia, and talk about that disease. And we will highlight the medications that are FDA approved. So it's so important that if you are considering a medication for your loved one, that you have a conversation with your doctor first, and the doctor be the source to actually prescribe that medication. Thank you.
Thank you, Roz. Amy had a question.
Oh yes, hi Amy.
Hi, I actually had a comment. I agree with you that I think it's such an important question, and Rosalind, such an important answer. At the library, we partner with CU Anschutz, the medical school here in Denver, and we present health and wellness series every season. We're doing one right now. And so I believe really strongly in high quality research-based information. And so that's what we present during these series. In the spring of next year, we're going to be doing a series on brain health equity, because we know that incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia are disproportionately high among communities of color, but that services are disproportionately low. And so we'll be bringing folks from CU Anschutz in specifically at that point as well to talk about research and talk about different things. So if you can always find high quality information, it's just a matter of being very careful. Yeah. And I also just want to say I've been putting resources in the chat as Rosalind's been speaking. The Parkinson's Association of the Rockies is great. Colorado Talking Book Library is great for people with vision. So that's up. Thanks.
Oh, excellent, Amy. Love it. I'm trying to figure out how I can save the chat because of all of the excellent resources you've added that I would love to have too. So for some reason, I'm not seeing that yet. But
Roz, I would say just take a picture of it. That might help.
Oh, there you go, Michelle. That always helps. Screen print, right? But to your point, CU Anschutz, they're wonderful. We also partner with them. We're currently working with Dr. Hillary Lum on a digital caregiver tool focus group that she's doing. So we're partnering in that area. But I totally agree with you, Amy. You just have to really be diligent and do your research. Don't fall on the heels of someone told me this, that, and the other, but just know for yourself, discern for yourself. Yes, Dr. Lum is at Seniors Clinic. Yes, she's excellent. Oh, wonderful. She's your dad's doctor. Yes. And as far as, additional resources, we have support groups. We are still hosting online support groups. We have some in-person support groups. We are very COVID compliant. We're ensuring that all of our folks are vaccinated. We're at least, doing our best to, within the parameters we have, to ensure that. And we're asking volunteers and participants alike to wear their masks. So we're very serious about that because of the time we're in. Yes.
Looking good, Sam.
I know Sam's putting on his mask now.
Oh, I like that mask, Sam. That's fancy.
Jeremiah was able to save the chat last time, so I'm sure he'll be able to save it this time again, and we can email it out.
Excellent.
Yeah, what happens is I'll get a transcript of the chats later today, so just FYI.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All righty. Well,
Well,
Rosalind,
thank you.
thank you so very much. I want to make sure that none of the other participants have a specific question for you before you sign off. Anybody, anything else for Roz? Okay, thank you again, Rosalind, so very much.
You and I are familiar that way. We can go.
Yes, but I am intentional about saying Rosalind, and I definitely appreciate your time and your sharing today.
Well, thank you, and all of you. Best of wishes in your journey, and again, contact us if you have not. We're happy to be of service to you. So thank you and take care. Live well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Roz. Okay. All righty. So now we want to make sure that we address any specific requests around resources that our participants have today. So if there is a specific resource that you are in need of, we would like you to put that in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand so that we can talk about it. But I absolutely have my favorite top 10 resources that I'm going to share with you guys today. Some of them you may be familiar with, but they are general and specific resources that we want to make sure that that you are aware of and can have easy access to. So I will share the screen. Okay, one of the messages that came through is pain management. Pain management. We talked a bit about that last week. One of our guest caregivers, that is the challenge that her husband is dealing with, and they've been at it for many years now. And there have been great obstacles to that pain management because of the opioid crisis and the cracking down on subscriptions. So that means that people who are legitimately in need of the support are not getting exactly what they need. And what we have found around pain management has just been holistic alternatives to working with it. Depending upon where the pain is, there's definitely been some success with acupuncture treatment, as well as some CBD oils and lotions. I don't have any other specific resources, but that's certainly something that I will definitely be willing to look up and identify what's available in terms of pain management and alternative therapies. Okay. Awesome sauce. And Lynn, Amy's suggesting that you reach out to her offline and she'll give you some ideas. And she said that Innovate can be good for some folks. Okay, and Colorado Respite Coalition for Pain Management.
I was the Colorado Respite Coalition for finding daycare.
Okay.
I will say one thing to remember, especially if you're at the kind of start of this journey with someone with dementia, is the experience is changing as the disease progresses. And you might try something and it won't work, and then 6 months later it'll work great. So for example, Lynn, with you, I've met your partner, and she's pretty high functioning still. And so some daycare may not be appropriate for her yet, but maybe in 6 months or a year. You know, it's a very, the timing can be tough. And I'm sure like folks like Sam and other people on the call understand that there's timing. So you and I can talk offline. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Amy. So Innovate definitely for the adult daycare program, as well as just comprehensive support during the caregiving journey. And then the Colorado Respite Coalition, absolutely, for those of you who are interested in accessing respite services. And I hope that's everyone, because respite is absolutely essential to the caregiver's well-being. And it's part of that whole taking care of yourself first, putting the oxygen mask on you first. And so finding viable outlets so that your loved one is cared for while you have necessary time off is definitely important. So I'm going to do a screen share quick and take you guys to, let's see. Okay, I'm taking you guys to some of the resources that I have found invaluable over the last many years. For those of you who have anyone that you're caring for who has a disability, the Homebuilders Foundation is an amazing resource to come in and retrofit your home if your doorways are too narrow for the wheelchair. And these services are provided at no cost. It's services that are offered by contractors across the state who are just really interested in giving back to the community. They do amazing work, regardless of what style or type of home you have. They will make sure that the improvements that they make are absolutely a complementary and an asset to your home. So Homebuilders Foundation, if you have someone who has any type of disability, someone has suffered a stroke and they're in a wheelchair, a special needs a child or a special needs adult, Homebuilders Foundation is a national organization, but there are chapters in each major city. So even if you're outside of Colorado, you can look for the Homebuilders Foundation within your community. But here in Colorado, it's the Homebuilders Foundation and Centennial that they're just simply amazing at supporting family caregivers and supporting families so that they're able to, you as a caregiver are able to care for your loved one. So if you need a bathtub removed and your bathroom retrofitted with a shower, they do anything necessary to make your home accessible and convenient. So that is one, the Homebuilders Foundation, and that's hbfdenver.org. And then the next program that I want to make sure you're all aware of is the VA Aid and Attendant Benefits and Housebound Allowance. In short, it's called the Aid and Attendant Program. And if your loved one is a veteran, if you as a spouse are a veteran, you are likely eligible for this program. So I wanted to make sure you had access to this information. A lot of people are not aware of it and miss out on the opportunity to get that particular support. And that's va.gov, pension, aid-attendance-housebound. And then there, of course, there's the aarp.org caregiving page, home and family caregiving, general information that's available, just great information, whether you are just starting your caregiving journey or you are seasoned. There is always great information that's available, and it's one of those resources you want to keep at your fingertips. And then there's the CDAS program. If your loved one is eligible for Medicaid, the Consumer Directed Attendant Support Services Program is an alternative to either you yourself being paid to provide care to your loved one, or you're being able to identify an individual or individuals that can provide that care for your loved one. Basically, it's a program where they allocate and determine, based on your loved one's need, what that monthly dollar amount would be for your loved one. An assessment would be done, and they would determine how many hours your loved one would be eligible for care under the CDAS program. But it is one of the programs that allows you to be financially compensated for the care that you provide, or it allows you the opportunity to direct those resources so that if there's another relative or someone within your circle that you want to identify as a caregiver, it allows you to do that. And so that program is known as CDAS, CDASS, and it's the Consumer Directed Attendant Support Services Program. And again, you have to be Medicaid eligible for that particular program. And of course, now there are thousands of apps to support caregivers in every way, shape, and form. And so I'm just going to mention one of them in particular, and that's the MediSafe app. It basically serves as a reminder and helps you as a caregiver keep track of, especially if your loved one is on multiple medications, it helps you keep track of the prescription when you're running low, and most importantly, when your loved one is taking their meds, if they're still independent enough to do so. So it's a medication management app. And like I said, this is one, there are hundreds of these apps out here. And so just, look to technology to help you maximize your time and minimize some of the stress that's on your shoulders, just simply because you are caring for a loved one. And then there is another resource that I want to share with you, which is Five Wellbeing Studio and Spa. They have been supporters of the National Family Caregivers Month for the past 3 years, and they have provided great care and services to the caregiver. It's a day spa located here in Littleton, Colorado. And throughout the month of November, they will be offering specials, and they will be partnering with the Caregivers Guardian, my organization, around the 10-10-30 campaign, which is a campaign that's designed to raise awareness around the family caregiver. And if you all want to be eligible for some of the prizes that are going to be offered throughout the month of November, I just invite you to go to tcgcares.com or the www.101030campaign.com to that page, and you will get to register as a caregiver to be part of the celebrations and festivities that'll be happening throughout the month of November around Family Caregiving Month. Okay, and so that's it for the direct resources that I wanted to share with you. Now I want to hear from you. on what some of your favorite resources are and some of the gems that you want to share with the other caregivers.
So Nadine, I'll go first really quick, and then I just want to invite people if they want to put it in the chat, or they can raise their hand and unmute themselves.
Absolutely.
I put two things in the chat that not many people know about, but that are great resources here in Colorado. One is called Sunshine Home Share. They're a nonprofit, and they receive funding from the city to provide free financial social work services for folks. They're great. I know them. I vetted them. They also, if you are in a large home and you have space, they will match you with someone like a roommate or someone to help you financially stay in your home. And they do a really great job with that. So if you have questions, oh, Maggie, you know Sunshine Home Share. I love them. I think they're wonderful. Another group that I think is fantastic that we're really lucky to have is called Benefits in Action. Again, they are a nonprofit. They aren't going to try and sell you anything, but they will provide you with one-on-one assistance. They will answer all of your questions about the very confusing government benefits like Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment, SNAP, FMLA, whatever you need. You can call them and they will provide assistance for you. They also have a food delivery service. So those two organizations I think are really important to know about if you're in Colorado.
I missed the name of the first organization that you were referring to, Amy.
It's Sunshine Home Share.
Okay.
And it was started by some social workers here in Denver who really care about people. I just can't recommend them highly enough.
Excellent.
So they do financial planning, and they also help people stay in their homes by matching them with roommates. And sometimes the match is this person will rent a room in your home for 5 hours of caregiving a week or 10 hours of caregiving a week or something like that. So if you're in a house that's sort of large and you have extra space, that is an option, and their social workers will help match you up. And so for folks who are looking for respite, folks who are looking for maybe some assistance around the house or with caregiving, yes, Maggie's correct. They match very, very carefully. It's not just kind of like an algorithm. They take a real personal interest in the folks they work with.
I am absolutely thrilled to hear about them. Thank you. Okay, all right, guys, the gems that you have discovered, now's the time to share. Okay, while we wait for the text to come, the chats to come through, one resource that I neglected to mention that is absolutely a favorite of mine here in Denver, and there's one everywhere, but the Denver Botanical Gardens is absolutely a wonderful escape. It's a wonderful place to bring your loved one to. It's a wonderful place for just meditation and just spending time in nature. The memberships for the Denver Botanical Gardens, very, very reasonable. And for caregivers who don't have a membership and just want to go, especially now because we're able to just schedule a reservation. I keep a membership that allows me to bring in about 8 people at a time. So I offer that as a self-care treat to caregivers that I know. So if you got my email address, all you have to do is just send me an email and let me know when you want to go to the Botanical Gardens, and you get to go as my guest. Okay. All righty. And then Amy added that Parks and Rec is also great. It absolutely is. And she's added Jewish Family Services, Lutheran Family Services, and also Catholic Charities. Each of those organizations offer great services for the caregiver. The Jewish Family Services, are they still offering the caregiver in-home care program? So yes. I know that many, I haven't heard anything since, since this new change in our lives. Yeah. So I hadn't heard anything about it, but
yeah, and one thing important to know about these faith-based services is you don't have to be Jewish to use Jewish Family Services. You don't have to be Lutheran to use Lutheran Family Services. And you don't have to be Catholic to use Catholic Charities. They are very ecumenical in their service work. I used Jewish Family Services for my mother. I know that Lutheran Family Services has grant funding to do a lot of counseling for older adults. And so they provide free counseling, so you can reach out to Lutheran Family Services. So there's just a lot of folks in the community that do receive funding. I just recommend calling and finding if they can meet your specific needs.
Absolutely. And the Area on Aging did receive quite a bit of funding, additional funding as part of the COVID relief package. And so I just pick up the phone and call and say, what's going on? What are you offering? To learn about what either is now newly available or what is going to be available, say the first of the year. And so even though the effort is not as expansive as we had hoped by this point for caregivers in terms of providing additional support services for caregivers, there definitely is some movement, and there definitely are new resources that are available, and also additional dollars available through respite care as well. And so we remain very hopeful and excited for what is going to come down the pike. So who asked?
Oh, I was going to say, our Hadley branch, which is on the west side of Denver, has resources in Vietnamese. We have programs in Vietnamese. We have books and things in Vietnamese. And Vu, if you want to email me afterward, I can reach out to that branch and find out what specific resources there are for you. So I'm going to put my email in again, but I'm sure that we can find resources in Vietnamese for you. I mean, you'd be surprised what we're doing, for example, in the Green Valley Ranch area. The library is going to be sponsoring a walking group for Bhutanese and Nepalese refugees, older adult refugees, caregivers, and loved ones. So again, please do reach out to me because you might be surprised what's available. I also put in transportation is often a huge problem for folks. Dr. COG, which is our Denver Regional Council of Governments, it's our area agency on aging. You can get free Lyft and Uber passes, rides, and RTD passes through Dr. COG if you're an older adult. So that's a really important resource for folks, I think.
It really is. And also access a ride through Easter Sill. So if your loved one is incapacitated and they're no longer mobile, or they need assistance, then Access a Ride is definitely a viable option so that they can get free transportation, or I think it's still sliding scale transportation to and from wherever they need to go. And so that's Access a Ride is administered by the Easter Sills. And Seniors Resource Center also provides rides. Indeed. So Amy, that's Denver Art Museum is starting the Spark programs in March. You want to explain the Spark program?
Sure. And Sam, I don't know if Sam is still here. It looks like he may have, oh no, there's Sam. I know Sam is a big user of Spark programs as well. The Spark programs are enrichment programs, kind of joy-based programs, fun programs for people with memory loss and their friends, family members, and caregivers. My Memory Cafe is a Spark program. They're kind of loosely kind of drawn together by the Alzheimer's Association. The Denver Art Museum has Spark programs, so you can go to the art. I think maybe it was Paula last time who talked about the Denver Art Museum. I can't remember. I know someone on the call last time talked about it, but you can go to the art museum for free with your loved one. They have a program really specifically tailored to the social, emotional, and cognitive needs of people with memory loss and their caregivers. It's a wonderful social experience. So that's the Denver Art Museum. The Denver Botanic Gardens has Spark programs. The Molly Brown House has Spark programs. Lone Tree Art Center, thank you so much, Sam. That's a really important one. They're great. They also have Spark programs. Thank you for putting that in there. Now, some of them were kind of on hold because of COVID. So you might have to call just to find out where they're at. We started Memory Cafe back up in July. I know the Denver Art Museum is starting theirs back up, coming up in March. But all of these arts and cultural institutions tend to have programs for free for people with memory loss and their friends, family members, and caregivers. Colorado Ballet, I don't know if they have what's technically a Spark program, but they do programs for people with memory loss. Oh, thanks, Sam. Lone Tree just started back in person last week. That's good to know. Yeah. I mean, I have people to come to Memory Cafe, they drive from all over for the connection, the fun, the information, the joy, all of that.
Awesome, Amy. Thank you. Okay, so I want to talk specifically about resources that are available for the caregiver exclusively. And so there is an app that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. You've likely heard of it, but it is a meditation app called Calm, C-A-L-M. Yes. And I would say probably 50% of the caregivers that I work with are using that app because it absolutely does what it says. And that is, it creates a calm. And sometimes the day or the night is chaotic. And to be able to stop and center and have that time to simply be and to simply rejuvenate and lower that blood pressure is absolutely a necessity. So that is probably the #1 app that my caregivers are using. The second resource that I want to chat about is music and the power of music and how transformative music is in whether you're caregiver. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you are a caregiver or not, but music is so vital and helping to shift moods, to change the energy. Those of us caring for someone with dementia, it's almost a guarantee that if you put on the songs that they grew up listening to, the songs that they love, that music will stop them in their tracks and cause them to smile and really just be transported back to a time when they remember, they remember that music and what their life was at that time. Amy, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Nadine, I don't want to interrupt, but I did want to say something that's kind of transformed my life, which is my father loves music, but cognitively he can't turn on a radio, he can't do a CD, he can't do any of that. And finally, I just one day bought him an Amazon Alexa.
Yeah.
And he can literally sit there and just say, Alexa, play Ella Fitzgerald. And it plays. Yes. Or he can say, Alexa, call Amy, and it'll call me. And we're going to do a program in November as well on this. And Nadine, you touched on this, that there's a lot of technology that actually can really help you in this journey. And music is so huge. Oh, Sam also uses Alexa. Yeah. And actually, my father couldn't remember Alexa. He kept saying, what is the computer's name? So finally, I just renamed it Computer. So actually, he just says, Computer, play Ella Fitzgerald. And then that's what he does. So
Awesome.
That's a good way to get music into your life and your loved one's life.
It really is a really easy way, right? Because it's already programmed, it's there. You don't have to do anything other than tell it to play whatever it is that you want to play. But music is so incredibly therapeutic and transformative in terms of really shifting and allowing us to show up as our best self, right? I love that Paula says that she and her mom, they've joined an adult choir, which is fantastic. So, wow, for those of us who are able to sing, that is not my gift, but I definitely appreciate the fact that singing is, we can't hear you, Paula. You want to share with us? Unmute. There you go.
Okay, the choir's called Last Note Singers. It's mainly older people too in it. And it's online. You can just put lastnotesingers.org and find out about it.
Excellent. Hey, okay, so this one's
We do some concerts, but not many right now.
Okay, so that's lastnotesingers.org. So for the singers and the wannabe, and the nice thing is that if it's online, then you can participate and you can mute yourself and they don't have to hear me singing, right? Okay.
We still meet. We still meet, but everybody's required to wear masks and have the COVID vaccination.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Paula.
Sure.
So I also wanted to share that one of the things that we're going to do in November to kick off National Family Caregivers Month is we're going to have a dance party for caregivers. And we are inviting caregivers. This is going to be a Friday night affair, so it's going to be a happy hour. You can drink whatever you want to drink, but we are going to dance. And you know that we're going to play your favorite songs because you're going to get to register and tell us in advance what you love to dance to. And we've got an amazing DJ that will spin those tunes for us. And for 1 hour, we're gonna just have fun and do that dance party. We're looking at the first Friday in November for that event to take place. And then, thank you for the reminder, the weekly support group calls that we offer every single Monday from 12 to 1 Mountain Standard Time. We support caregivers. We meet them wherever they are on the caregiving journey. And the guarantee is that when you leave the call, you will be uplifted and inspired and ready to roll up your sleeves and get back to it. And also reminded again that it is a transformative process. So the more stuck in the mud, the more resistant you are to the change, the harder the process is going to be. And it's so interesting how caregivers constantly need that little nudge and reminder. I love Amy. Amy says money back guaranteed for the dancing or for the support group. Either one, huh?
A support group. You said guaranteed a free support group. So
absolutely.
It's a wonderful thing you provide, Nadine, really.
Thank you. We've been doing it for 18 months now, and we're just going strong and continuing that effort to make sure that caregivers, no matter where they are, and they call in from across the country, no matter where they are, they have a cohort, they have a tribe that they can call their own and can tap into. Lourdes is on the line. She is one of our regulars. Hello, Lourdes. So anyway, so you're absolutely welcome. And you can click on the tcgcares.com link and click calling all caregivers and sign up, and you'll get the link for the call. Again, that's every Monday, 12 noon. Okay, guys, we are definitely approaching the end of our time. I absolutely want to thank every one of you who have participated. Some of you participated in all three, and some of you live who participated. And others who are listening now, you're listening, and we are really glad that you are tuning in. Again, a tremendous appreciation to Denver Public Library, Amy Delpo, for making this happen, along with AARP, Jeremiah Mora. We really appreciate you allowing us to bring a community together, to bring caregivers together, to be supported in ways that are most important to the caregiver. So thank you all so very much. And I hope to see you during National Family Caregivers Month. I hope to see you on one of the support group calls. Let's just make this a continuation, okay?
Thanks, Nadine. And I'm sure for those of you who registered, which I think is everyone, Jeremiah is going to be sending the link for the recording, and that will probably include the chat. He will also be sending a link for a survey, which really helps us and AARP. I definitely want to thank AARP. This wouldn't have happened without AARP, who's providing the funding and the tech support for this. And I just want to invite all of you to unmute yourselves and say goodbye so we can hear all our voices as we kind of leave this community of caregivers. Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
you.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
So much,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
Great.
Bye, everyone.
Love and
Bye-bye.
blessings.
Wonderful work. Keep doing
Peace
it.
and blessings. Take good care.
Valuable.